Hello YouTube, how's it going? How are you doing? Um, so I've been away for a little bit, work's been busy, so I haven't been making any videos. But don't worry if you're worried about it, but um, I'll be back soon. We've been very busy at work. We do a lot of contracting for courier companies and stuff like that. So yeah, 12-hour days, 6 days a week. But you know, you've got to do what you've got to do. But there's a new job opportunity on the horizon, let's say, which may allow me to do more interesting videos, let's just say. But anyway, I digress. I made a video, a short in fact, about the Tiger 800, about hot starting trouble. And in my case, it was a starter motor. Um, and I had a question from somebody saying that they had changed their starter motor and the problem was the same. Now, as I believe I've loosely touched on in the short, there's, you know, you need to do a diagnosis process, right? It's a process of elimination. Um, and roughly, because I've got to get to work, I will quickly just tell you how I came to that conclusion with that bike. Um, you always want to start with the cheapest thing first, right? You don't want to go spending a load of money, you know, because you're just throwing parts at it, right? You want to try and isolate the problem. Um, so what I would start with is start with your battery. Make sure that's great. Test it under load. You know, don't just assume that because you're getting, you know, 13 volts or 12.5 volts just sitting that it's fine, because that isn't always the case. If you need to take it somewhere, have it tested and make sure that that's good, because that could definitely be your problem. Um, the other things to do is underneath the battery you have your starter solenoid, right? Make sure all those connections are clean. There's an earth underneath the airbox, which gets really cruddy. Make sure that's clean. Take them off, clean them. Use a bit of don't sand them if you can avoid it. Use like a bit of IPA or something like that, not the beer. But you know, a solvent of some type to clean it up. Maybe use a Scotch-Brite gently, get them nice and shiny. Put a little bit of dielectric grease on afterwards, and also check the leads. Okay, so you've got, you know, your leads going to your starter, your solenoid to your battery. They're very shite, let's just say, on these Triumphs. Um, what I put on mine, and worked very well for me, is I used KTM 1290 Duke um, cables, because they were the right length, and in my humble opinion, the KTM battery leads are the best out of any of the brands that you could um, you could find. You know, essentially they're very low silicon, I believe, very thick, really good quality. Um, so that's like an important thing to check. On this bike, I discovered that where it went over the engine, and the airbox sat on it, it actually rubbed through the insulation. So I had a bit of bare wires there. Um, you know, so that's something to check as well. The Obviously, you know, you need to check that your valve clearances are correct. I did mention that as well. Your valve clearances have to be, you know, within spec, because that can give you all sorts of weird trouble with hot and cold starting. So it's very important that you check that. Um, ensure, sorry, going back to charging system, ensure that your charging system is actually charging properly. So, you know, when you know your battery's good and everything, get it running, get the multimeter on there, and just make sure, you know, you're seeing the correct voltage. I think in my case on that bike, I want to say it's like 14.3. You want to be around that. You can be below that slightly. You could be a little bit above that. But that's what mine was measuring out at. And obviously, let's get on to the crux of the starter motor. Now, there's a lot of cheap starter motors on eBay. You can pick them up for about 100 quid. Don't buy them. That's simple. Don't buy them. How do I know? Because I bought one, right? I did all these things thinking, you know, like, so I did my starter motor and I still had the same problem, right? So I ended up going for all these other things to end up back with this starter motor. And funny enough, what I did is I bought a used starter off a 675. Perfect, no problems at all. I actually stripped down. I didn't keep it. I wish I had so that I could show you, but I took the Chinese starter apart. And when I say Chinese, I mean non-Triumph, right? You know, non-Triumph Chinese. You know, just this will fit in your bike, so use it. It's not the same animal at all. If you take it apart, it's not the same thing. It's not up to it at all. It looks like it on the outside, but trust me, they're rubbish. For those of you that are interested, the problem with the starter motor, as in the original Triumph one, is interestingly enough, the commutator, I believe that's what it's called. Don't quote me on that. The center, the spinny bit in the middle of the starter motor, was actually bent. It was warped. So obviously, when the bike gets hot, that only amplifies, right? And that was essentially wedging itself against the magnets inside the housing. So, you know, that's something to look out for. But, you know, check these things. Don't buy a cheap starter motor. If you buy a used one, try to make sure that you buy one that's, you know, younger than, I think it's 2014. So if you go for 2015, 16 onwards motor, I believe that they are slightly more, I don't know whether you want to say robust or less likely to the problem, even though I don't think they changed the part number, strangely enough. Funny that, right? So yeah, I thought I'd just make this quick video just to elaborate a little bit on you know, what I said, because it wasn't overly crystal what I'd done, and I could see why, you know, you might it might not have been totally helpful, you know, but it was just a short. So yeah, so just go through things and check everything. Start with the cheapest thing first, and make sure things are clean, and make sure that nothing is obviously broken, you know. More videos to come soon. See you later.